In this episode of the Locked On NBA Big Board podcast, me and my brother James, we are here to discuss 5 prospects that transfer schools. And you know the saying, is the grass greener? And in this case, the grass has definitely been greener. Well, it's real early. But so far, the early returns are great, and the grass has been greener for Grant Nelson, Kel'el Ware, Dalton Knecht, Hunter Sallis, and Hunter Dickinson. So stay tuned to find out our thoughts on these 5 prospects and how much they've improved their NBA draft stock. Big shout out to each and every person that has made the Locked On NBA Big Board podcast your first listen of the day. I am your host, Rafael Barlowe, the director of scouting for NBA Big Board. Got my co-host for today, James Barlowe, who just so happens to be my brother. And in this episode, again, like I said, we're going to talk about 5 transfers that have definitely made an impact so far. And in this case, the grass is definitely greener. And if you are an everydayer, if you've been listening every day, you know that me and James, we are bringing you our own unique style of draft commentary. So we are looking forward to not only this episode, but bringing you our thoughts on college basketball and NBA draft prospects throughout this entire season. But before we get into this episode, I want to let you know that it's brought to you by Gametime. All you have to do is download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Once again, download the Gametime app. What's up, man? It's been a minute.
Bro?
I was in Paris.
I was here.
I was in Paris for 5 days. I went to go check out a few French prospects. I didn't get a chance to see Tidjane Salaam. They said that he was under the weather. It was a game time decision, and I was like, I'm not about to drive for 3 hours for a game time decision. But I did see Melvin Ajinça and Zachary Risache. I did see them play. So I'll talk about that experience in a later episode. But I want to talk about these transfers, man.
Okay.
The grass has definitely been greener for these guys.
Yeah.
And the first player that I want to talk about is Grant Nelson. Okay. Grant's film just pops out.
For sure.
I liked him. I did like him last year, but I had some concerns because after he blew up, everybody was trying to figure out who's Grant Nelson. I remember talking to an NBA scout, and he was like, have you seen this kid play? And I said, no, but I'm sure you have. And he was like, really? I said, they played Arkansas last year, and they played Kansas. And he was at both of those games, and he said he didn't remember. So shout out to KJ Pistons, who played a big role in Grant blowing up. And then he was like the media darling in a sense because, I mean, like I said, he's always going to pop out on film. Struggled at the combine. I heard he kind of struggled this summer playing like pickup games with WME, yada, yada, yada. Decided not to enter the draft. Transfers to Alabama. And just based off of what I'm seeing right now, with this wide open draft, Grant Nelson could be a lottery pick. I mean, think about it. Some of the guys that we thought were lottery picks are not playing well right now. But if you didn't know, like, you just watching film, took out the biases and the pre-hype, it's not too many players looking better than Grant Nelson right now. So what are your thoughts on Grant Nelson so far?
Man, like you said, the film, he jumps off the screen, man. And, I just like, well, mostly everybody else, my first, interaction with him was when he went viral. He was out there banging on dudes. But, like, he's still out there dunking on people. And he's got handles. Not like a big that can dribble. Like, he's got, like, legit, like, tight handles.
Yeah, he went from, in my impression, last year was can handle the ball to
a ball handler. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. Like, he can handle the ball. And Alabama is using him as, like, almost a point forward. Like, he's initiating offense. He's got guards setting screens out there for him.
He's rebounding.
And, man, look, that's one of my favorite things to see in that prospect. Can you grab it and go? Because if you can do that, we can get into the offense easier. We can get mismatches in transition. Like, you can create offense, and he's doing that for himself. And, you know, he's athletic. He doesn't shy from contact. He had a play where
He's saying he's athletic. He's a really impressive athlete. You gotta give a little bit more credit.
Well, I mean, like, again, he's unique in the fact that there's nobody in this draft that I can think of who has the freedom or who's even doing it to grab a rebound, handle the ball,
turn it into a post
up. That's us. I'm not trying to like diminish his athleticism. Like, he's athletic.
Yeah.
The main thing that I see for him that is going to be an issue, because again, this draft and the way that these dudes been playing, he definitely could jump. But you know what? He would make a huge jump, Ron, if he could shoot the ball.
Yeah, his misses look pretty bad.
Yes.
But what's crazy is he's shooting 90% from the foul line. Like, right now, his splits are 55% from the floor, 28% from three, 90% from the foul line. In 3 games, he's averaging 16.7 points, 6.7 rebounds, 3 assists, and 2.3 blocks. Very unique prospect in a sense. I remember last year when he blew up, I had a scout from a Western Conference team that is expected to compete for NBA title this year. Tell me, we don't have anybody on our roster that plays like him. There's nobody on our roster that's a big that can handle the ball in space, drive to the lane, and finish above the rim. And which is true. But the concern is, what is his position? Not necessarily what is his position, but what was his role? Because I didn't feel like they used him a lot as a role man in North Dakota last year. I felt like he got post-ups, but you see, and Alabama runs like an NBA-style offense. You see him being used as a role man. You see him being used as a ball handler. He made a genius decision to not only leave the draft, go back to school, but he picked a school that is playing to his strengths. But yet the outside shooting is, I think, a concern. But the way they're using him now, it may not be that big of a concern, because I can see him being used as a pick-and-roll finisher, and he's a pretty decent passer. He doesn't necessarily have to space the floor. I think a team could use him as a 5.
Interesting. So do you have a comp for him right now, or is it too?
No, I don't have a comp for him right now. Just because the way that he's being used this year, I didn't see this. I didn't see him getting a rebound. Like you said, they have guards screening for him. Yeah. And he just has a unique style, because he's aggressive for sure. Mm-hmm. He's looking to get downhill. He can post up smaller defenders. I think a creative coach a creative coach like Nate Oates is taking advantage of all his talent. So I think in the NBA, a creative coach can do the same thing.
You know, he kind of reminds me of like when James Johnson figured it out. Like, what position did he play? But he was a ball-handling power forward who could initiate. I'm not talking about the defensive end, but like they use him like that. Like, because the year Miami was supposed to be down and they ended up going to the playoffs anyway. Like, James Johnson was like 14, like 6 and 4 kind of guy. And that's what and he wasn't like a great spot up shooter, but he would make one now and again. And like, if that's what Grant Nelson becomes on offense, and again, James Johnson settled into that role because it took him a long time to get into that. Like,
well, I just think like Chicago didn't know how to use him. And I remember I was working in the G League at the time, and he was on the Rockets. He played for RGV. And that's when I saw, like, wait a minute. They had this dude playing 1, 5. They just put him out there and let him. Yeah. I got to look back and see. Nick Nurse might have been the coach.
So that year in Miami, his best year is when he got paid. He was 13 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, a steal, and a block. And, yeah, that's what, like, I can see Grant Nelson assuming that kind of role at the next level.
First round pick, in your opinion?
Man, absolutely.
I took you too
of course, man.
He's definitely a first rounder. I didn't have him as a first rounder on my my big board in August, but just the way this draft has been going and just watching his film. And yes, they haven't really played anybody tough yet, but just watching the film, he stands out. And it'll be hard to think of 30 prospects, 29 prospects.
20
That
prospects.
are better than him right now. All right, when we return, we're going to talk about Kel'el Ware. Kel'el Ware, the grass has definitely been greener for Kel'el Ware.
He got
Transferring
green.
Transferring to Indiana has definitely worked out in his favor so far through 3 games. Stay tuned. But before we get into more prospects, I want to talk to you about Betterhelp, because this episode is brought to you by Betterhelp. Now, this time of year can be a lot, and it's natural for a lot of people to feel some sadness or some anxiety, but adding something new and something positive to your life can counteract or offset some of the challenges or feelings that you are going through. And therapy can be a bright spot throughout all the changes and feelings, and it can give you something to look forward to. It can make you feel grounded, but also give you the tools to manage everything that is going on. And that's why I am suggesting Betterhelp. Because if you are thinking about starting therapy, I am highly recommending Betterhelp. It is entirely online, and it is designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. All you have to do is just fill out a questionnaire, and you can get matched with a licensed therapist. You can switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. So find your bright spot this season with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/LockedOnNBA. You could get 10% off your first month. That is betterhelp.com/LockedOnNBA. Have you ever had like a terrible experience buying tickets? I know I have. It actually happened to me a couple weeks ago. I was in Madrid. I was trying to go to a Real Madrid basketball game to scout, to work, and they did not have the Gametime app in Spain. So I had to go through their ticket service, and it said that I purchased some tickets in the lower bowl. And unlike Gametime, I didn't have the opportunity to see my tickets. It just said lower bowl, and it gave me the seats. When I got to the arena, my seat was like behind the rim. And I was at the highest point of the lower bowl. Total waste of my time. But that doesn't happen on Gametime, because on Gametime, you can actually see the seat. They even have it on the app where you can view where your seat is at. You know the number. It is great. And they have these last minute prices. So you don't have to worry about when you're buying tickets for your next event if you use the Gametime app, because Gametime is fast. And it is the easiest way to buy tickets for sports, music, comedy, and theater events near you. They have killer last minute deals, all in prices, views of your seat. Again, views of your seat. They have a best price guarantee, and they have all inclusive prices, or all in prices. So that way, if you buy a ticket that's $57, and right when you're about to hit submit to pay, all of a sudden the ticket jumps to $120 because of all these fees. With Gametime, they show you the fees up front. Again, last minute deals, flash deals, zone deals. It is easy to find and buy tickets for any event that you're looking for. So download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the promo code LOCKEDONNBA, LOCKEDON You can get $20 off your first purchase. Once again, download the Gametime app. Lowest price guaranteed. All right, let's talk about Kel'el Ware. Kel'el Ware was a player at this time last year, maybe a little bit earlier, but I'll just say last summer. I thought it was a toss-up between him and Derek Lively as the two best centers. Who's going to be the first center off the board outside of Victor Wembanyama.
Okay.
I thought both were going to have excellent freshman years. I did have a little bit of concerns of if they don't have strong years, what would be the reason? And you can make a case to say both didn't have the freshman seasons that a lot of people thought they would have. Lively averaged like 5-5, but he still ended up being a 12th pick in the draft, and he's actually playing very well for the Dallas Mavericks. He had some skills that he wasn't able to showcase at Duke, like the passing. He's been a really good passer for the Dallas Mavericks. And then there's Kel'el Ware, who had I guess when he played, the numbers on paper were fine, but he just kind of fell out of favor at Oregon. Ended up, being a backup. There were questions about his motor. I know I had big questions about his motor and his intensity, but never, ever questioned his talent and what he brings to the table if he puts it all together. And so far, the grass has definitely been greener for Kel'el Ware because he is putting it together in the Hoosier State. What has been your impression of Kel'el Ware so far? Actually, no, before you get to that, what was your impression of Kel'el Ware prior to Indiana?
So I remember watching him play in high school. They played, he went to North Little Rock, Nick Smith Jr. He played against Case and Wallace.
And Rylan Griffin from Alabama.
They went to Richardson High School. Shout out to my guys at Richardson High School. They're probably not listening because y'all in class right now. But, yeah, I was like, yo, who's this 7-foot jump shooting athletic dude? Like, yo, who is this guy? So then he went to Oregon. And then I was like, okay, he went to Oregon. I think his name is Nafali Dante.
Seems like he's been there forever.
Yeah, he's been there for a while. And I was like, okay, that's an interesting choice. I think he
played with Aaron Brooks.
Aaron Brooks, you sure wasn't Luke Ridnour? Nah. But it was just an interesting choice, to go there.
Very. But I heard that he had a really strong relationship with one of the assistants that recruited him. Then that coach actually went to UNO. Well, we call it UNO. We're from Nebraska. Growing up, it was called University of Nebraska Omaha, but now it's just called Omaha.
Gotcha.
So that coach is the head coach at Omaha. So they say that once that coach took the job, that kind of played a role in things going downhill at Oregon.
Okay, that makes sense. Well, at Oregon, like you said, you saw flashes, but it wasn't what you expected. And then again, he was split minutes. When he did start, I think
big game against UConn.
Yeah,
I remember.
Dante was hurt a little bit towards the beginning of the season, I want to say. And, you saw the potential, you saw the talent, but for whatever reason, he just kind of went back and he entered the portal and he's at Indiana right now. And he looks really, really good at Indiana right now. So good that, again, prior to filming, I was like, yo, Rob, I know V. Missy is your guy, but hey, what's the difference? Who's better? We see Kel'el Ware is very skilled.
He looks way more polished.
Hey, and guess what? You know what? Man, back to them Rockefeller freestyle days. What did Jay-Z say about young Chris? Yo, he's only 19.
He's only 16. That's what he said.
Oh, well, Kel'el Ware is 19 still. So, he's still very young. The team website lists him at 242. He looks every bit of 230, 240.
Yeah.
He's filled out. He's
lower frame, his lower body is strong.
Yeah, he's running the floor. He's dunking on people. I have a theory that Mike Woodson is telling him to chill out on the jumpers because he's not really shooting them right now.
He's only taking 4 so far.
Yeah. He's made a 3-pointer, but you see the touch is there. But yeah, he's basically out there dunking everything, blocking shots. He looks to be more physical, and he looks really, really good.
Definitely looks more confident, and confidence is half the battle. Right now, through 3 games, he's averaging 18.3 points, 10 rebounds, 2.3 assists, 2 blocks, shooting 74% from the floor, 33% from 3, and 70% from the foul line. His athleticism pops out. It looks easy. He looks huge on the court.
Yeah.
They're using him as a lob threat, and his radius is crazy. They're just throwing it up there, and he's getting it way above the rim. He shows that he's skilled. He's running the floor. That was one of my concerns a little bit last year. I knew he could run the floor, but it just didn't seem like he always ran the floor.
Mm-hmm.
Mike Woodson hasn't run the floor. And I agree with your assessment. I think Mike Woodson said, hey,
don't forget these pops, bro. Yo, you roll every single time.
This money and then show you can shoot and once you get to the NBA.
And you know what? I have no problem with that because guess what? Mike Woodson coached in the NBA for a long time. He knows what it is.
Yeah.
And guess what? If I'm Mike Woodson and I have a recruit for next year, and I'm like, look, y'all saw what Kel'el Ware did. We told him what was going to get him to the next level, and he did it.
Yeah. And they're actually running post-ups for him.
Yeah.
He's 8 of 12 in the post. But what I have been really impressed with is he's made like running hooks with his right hand and his left hand. He's playing more physical. He shot a turnaround like LaMarcus Aldridge type jumper.
He had a play on I get my blocks mixed up. He catches it on the right block. He faces up. He goes middle, and he shoots like the running hook.
The running hook.
Yeah,
the soft touch around the rim has been impressive. Like I said, 8 of 12 on post-ups. He is, check this out, 13 of 13 on shots at the rim, 9 for 9 on dunks. And when I was like, I watched some of the games, but then when I watched the film, I'm like, is he scoring outside of dunks? Because it looked like he was dunking everything. And then I went to Synergy, and I just decided, you know what, let me just focus on his post-ups. Like, if you're an everydayer, and you know I love post-play, I can't wait till the game switches and post-play is valued again in the NBA. Not just for, like, centers. I wanted to see other guys outside of Embiid and Jokic post-up. I'm a fan of back in the day where guards punish smaller guards, wings posted up. I mean, you know, the Jerry Stackhouses, the Andre basic game.
I'm going to tell you what man Slim Charles said, man. Think about the old days they the old days, man.
What song was that? It was a Cameron. Remember them days?
Yeah, man, them days over, yeah.
But one day, it's going to come back. And Kel'el Ware has been impressive on the block. Like, he's scoring and looking comfortable. They're feeding him the ball on the block. He's shooting over smaller defenders. He's making righty hooks, lefty hooks, turnaround jumpers. That has been the most impressive thing for me outside of the improved motor. You were right. And actually, Messi has...
Hold on, what'd you say? Say that again, brother.
You didn't say Ware was better than Messi. You weren't as high on Messi. But I will say this. I had Messi high on my mock draft. I actually had Ifan Almansa pretty high too. And I had Ware at the bottom of the first round. And two of the guys that I had concerns about their motor, their effort, and it just shows a change of scenery. The grass is greener from Alex Sarr to Kel'el Ware.
Yeah.
Right now, if I had to do a big board or a mock draft right now,
say it.
They're both in the lottery.
Let me ask you another. I was getting ready to get to that. Okay, so let's say let's assume that Sarr is higher, right? What is stopping a team if this Kel'el Ware grass is legit green and it's not that fake stuff, right?
It's not that AstroTurf.
No, it's not that AstroTurf. It's not that whatever the grass version of Beijing is that you spray in your hair. Like, what's stopping him from being the second big taken off the
Maybe first. This draft is wide open.
This draft is very wide open.
If Alex Sarr slows down and this draft is open,
bobble passes.
That's another episode. And that's my thing about Messi. When I watched this film, I was like, he's really, really raw. Which I knew he was raw.
I told you that.
But I knew he was raw. But he bobbles passes. But I mean, it's clear that Ware is more polished and more skilled. And so, like I said, it's early. It's only been a few games, 18 and 10. If Kel'el Ware plays like he's playing in conference play, why can't he be a top pick? This draft is wide open. Nobody has stood out so far.
And guess what? The dudes that stood out, they stood right back in, too.
And guys that have stood out are like so far down on preseason boards that it's going to be hard for them to move up. But anyway, when we return, we got to talk about three more players, Dalton Knecht and two hunters, Hunter Sallis and Hunter Dickinson. All right, before we talk about those prospects, let's talk about PrizePicks, because PrizePicks is daily fantasy made easy. It is the most exciting daily fantasy sports game out there. Instead of battling thousands of players and machines and pros and sharks and bots, it is just you versus the projected numbers. All you have to do is pick 2 to 6 players and their stat projections and let the winnings come in. What PrizePicks is doing that I think is so dope is they have a reboot policy. And you're probably wondering, like, what is a reboot policy? If you have a player that exits the game or gets injured, so basically if you have Anthony Davis on your team, he gets hurt in the first half and he doesn't return in the second half, he gets rebooted. And PrizePicks is the only daily fantasy sports platform with an injury insurance policy. Go to PrizePicks.com/LockedOnNBA, and again, you can get a first deposit match up to $100. But once again, thank you for making Locked On NBA Big Board your first listen of the day. Last segment, we got to try to squeeze these three in. Dalton Knecht.
Go ahead.
Oh, you want me to talk?
Yeah,
about
I want you to talk about Dalton Knecht first.
Transfer from Northern Colorado, 3 games, averaging 19.7 points, 3.7 rebounds, 1 assist, which is shocking to me because when I watched this film, I felt like he never passes the ball, but he's a bucket.
Yeah.
He is a bucket. He's a highlight. I mean, he makes highlights. I should say that. I don't want to say sneaky athlete because I think that becomes like a racial term in a sense. Because anytime a white guy is athletic and he dunks, people label him sneaky.
Name the last sneaky athlete that was a brother.
Paul Pierce.
Was that 35 years ago?
Hey, I mean, there are some, but like to me, Paul Pierce is the definition of sneaky athlete. Like if you go to YouTube and type in Paul Pierce's dunks, like
he got some bodies. I know.
But yeah, so I mean, like I said, when I think of sneaky athlete, but Knecht had a highlight dunk. I don't know if it was in a preseason game or the first game of the season.
First game of the season.
But he took off down the lane, dunked on somebody. I like his size, 6'6".
He looks long too.
He does look long. He was a 20-point scorer at Northern Colorado. Has a very interesting story. Like I read, he was like 5'6" as like a junior,
Those stories
and then he was like 6'1", like a senior. And I could be getting the story wrong. Goes to like a JUCO, and then he grows to like 6'6" while he's at a JUCO, or I guess between JUCO and Northern Colorado. So he is that's just a unique story. Like how do you grow like a foot?
And can you imagine waking up and like your sleeves is like right here?
I mean, I guess it's okay then, but right now I got too much invested in clothes and shoes.
I'm not trying to restart. I'm too old now.
Right.
My limbs just cooked. I don't need no growth spurt.
But yeah, he had a growth spurt, and you can see some of the skills that he had when he was smaller translated.
Mm-hmm.
Like there are some guys that they're 7-footers, and they're like, oh yeah, he used to be a guard, and I'm like, I don't see any of those guard skills.
He just used to be short.
But he's, like I said, you can see some of the creativity that you kind of need as a smaller guard, and it's translated as a 6'6" wing. Like I said, he's a good athlete. He's a scorer. Like, again, this is a rap reference, so if you don't listen to rap music, this isn't go over your head. Cameron had a line. He says, "You're a passer, but I got a scorer's aura." Dalton Knecht is not a passer.
Not at all.
He is a scorer. He has good scoring instincts. He posts up, mid-post. He's got a little wiggle, offensive creativity, loves the pull-up.
Okay.
And I like his pull-up. He's shooting over the top of smaller guards, and it's effortless. He's active. He moves off the ball. I like him. He's a better three-point shooter than the numbers indicate. Right now, he's only at 28%, but he shot 38% from three on like 6 attempts per game last year.
Yep.
The concern is he's going to be 23 on draft day. The passing instincts are concerning because I don't know how much room there is in the NBA for a guy to just be like a tunnel vision scorer. And he has way more turnovers than assists. 91 assists to 121 turnovers in his career. And again, the tunnel vision is the biggest concern for me, especially when you consider he's going to be 23 on draft day. What are your thoughts?
I'm buying him as a scorer. I just want to know what translates at the next level.
I think the shooting.
Is he a scorer at the next level, or is he a 3-and-D guy at the next level?
He's going to have to be a shooter first.
Absolutely.
And then maybe the shooting can open up his game if he has to attack or close out. But the post-ups...
Nah, that's probably going to be... We probably got an expiration date on that.
Yeah, the post-ups. But I like the fact that, he's got work in the mid-post.
Yeah, and you know what? Hey, man, if you've been listening to me since I've joined Locked On, I'm not 3-and-D guy. I'm not a fan. But turning a scorer into a 3-and-D guy, I can get down with. So, again, he can score. like you said, I'm buying him as a shooter. He's just getting off to a rough start, but you'll see the one dribble pull up at the next level. You'll see the catch and shoot shots, and he has a scores or basically he'll be cutting, he'll be doing those things.
Moves, he's active off the ball.
So I don't think he's a first round pick, but he's somebody that will get drafted, and he can contribute to a winning. Like I look at him, and not because he's from there, but like I see Denver Nugget.
Okay. Check this out. What if he has a strong year in the SEC? Can he be Chris Duarte?
I think Chris Duarte killed the hope of the next Chris Duarte. Because Chris Duarte is on his second team right now, and he's buried on the bench for the Kings. So I think that Chris Duarte old head experiment is over. I don't want to do a complexion comparison because he's not as athletic as John Conchar is, but like those kind of guys that find their way into rotations. That's what I see Dalton Knecht as.
Let's talk about Hunter Sallis. Well, we are from Omaha, Nebraska. We've actually know Hunter's family. We know his mom. Shout out to Jessica. I remember when he was a little dude wearing glasses. It wasn't you. I was at home. It was Cam. We have a younger brother. And I want to say a few years back, I was at home for, one of the holidays, and we went to play basketball. And like I said, we've known Hunter and some of the coaches, and Hunter was on our team, and we ran the floor it's called Genesis, but it was 24-hour fitness then, mm-hmm. And we were calling Hunter Baby Ingram because he was really, really thin and skinny. And so I thought he was going to be a good player. I didn't see at the time like McDonald's All-American and the trajectory that he finished at in his high school career. Goes to Gonzaga, and there was quite a few people that was wondering why he went there. And at Gonzaga, he did not look like the player that he was in high school. He had 2 years at Gonzaga where I thought, and this is just me being totally honest, I thought he struggled with his confidence. He was passing up shots. He only averaged 4 points as a freshman and sophomore. And I don't know if it was the pressure because he was, part of a highly touted class.
He was a top 15 recruit.
He was a top 15 recruit. And so a lot of people had given up on him. I wouldn't say I gave up on him, but I had major, major concerns because he just did not look confident. Like, it looked like he just didn't want to shoot. He was too passive. And to me, confidence is half the battle. Transfers to Wake Forest. He had a big game. I don't remember the numbers, but he had a big game in like a close scrimmage against Alabama. And then he had a good opening game. And so far, through 3 games, he averaged 17 points, 2 rebounds, 1.7 assists. One of the concerns is outside shooting. I think he shot below 30% to 2 years at Gonzaga. Small sample size, but he's shooting 37% from 3 this year. He looks like a different player. The athleticism, the length, the defense, the pull-up shooting, the floater, all of the stuff that made him such a highly touted prospect is back now that he's at Wake Forest. So the grass has definitely been greener. What has been your impression of Hunter so far?
Again, like you said, he just looks like a totally different player. At Gonzaga, he was
I don't know. I think they were trying to play him on the ball. But there's another guy at Gonzaga, I think Dominic Harris, that transferred, and he's having a big year at Loyola Marymount. So the grass has been greener for those guys.
So with Hunter, limited role for whatever reason, and he wasn't shooting the ball well, like you said, he wasn't confident. But here at Wake Forest, he shot in the however many minutes a game he was playing at Gonzaga, it was like 1 3 a game. He's shooting almost 7 threes a game now. They're catching shoot threes. He's shooting step back threes. I saw him take the big NBA gathered 3 the other night against Utah, and he's making 3-point shots. And he's looking like a 3-level scorer. Like you see pull-ups, you see floaters, you see
the hustle offensive rebound that he showed in high
school. He's got good pace. Again, it's going to come down to his efficiency. Is he going to be able to maintain this efficiency? Because again, it's different when you're not, when you're a role player versus being, he's number 1 or number 2 on the scouting report.
Yeah.
The one thing that I do need to see from him, I need to see him fill the stat sheet more. Because right now he's just scoring. And I'm like, all right, you 6'5", you're athletic, You play hard. I need you to grab more than 2 rebounds a game. I need you to see more assists. He does those things. I feel like he has a chance to hear his name come June. Because, like I said, like he's taking the shots he's supposed to take. He's starting to make those shots. Now I just want to see what do they call peripheral stats from him.
Yeah, no, he's played well. So I think that he made an excellent choice by going to Wake Forest, especially going to Wake Forest. You know why? Because Jake LaRavia transferred from Indiana State to Wake Forest.
He did his homework.
And Jake becomes a first-round pick. Alanis Williams was buried on the bench at Oklahoma. Goes to Wake Forest. He is the ACC, I was about to say SEC, ACC Player of the Year, even though it's called the Atlantic Coast Conference, but now, like, Stanford.
Who knows?
Is about to be in the conference next year. But anyway, so great choice, Hunter, going to Wake Forest. Like James said, he did his homework, and he could be another player that just benefits from going to the right situation. Real quick, Hunter Dickinson, averaging 22 points, 12 rebounds, shooting 65% from the floor, had 27 and 21 against Kentucky.
Man, you know how easy it is to grab 22 rebounds the way Kentucky shot that night? It's not easy, but I'm saying, like, Kentucky was, Homer was 7 from 25 from the field.
He took 3 17 from 3.
You remember when Baron Davis used to play them, like, the off-brand summer league games where he only shot threes? Like, I forget what the website was. This is before they made summer league. That's what it looked like. And then DeJuan Wagner was 1 for 12. Like, DJ, excuse me. I mean, I'm not hating on my man grabbing 22 rebounds, because that's 22 rebounds is 22 rebounds. But, man, how many rebound opportunities did he have?
Do you think he has a chance to sneak in the NBA? I mean, he's been productive, very productive on the college level. Probably a favorite outside of Zach Edey, maybe Filipowski to win College Player of the Year. He has shot the ball well from 3. Not a huge number of attempts throughout his career, but he's very productive. Great touch around the basket. Traditional old school center. And just in a yes or no answer, do you think there's a world where he could sneak into the second round of the NBA draft?
Yes.
We will get to this in another episode. Once again, thank you for making the Locked On NBA Big Board podcast your first listen of the day. I'm Rafael Barlowe. He's James Barlowe. We're going to talk about Hunter Dickinson on another episode because I feel like this is going to be a long conversation. And maybe it's an episode that we can dedicate to the traditional back-to-the-basket centers. I like that. Who've shown little flashes of touch, and will they have a shot in the NBA? Once again, thank you. We are